Hi everybody. Let's debrief what we talked about for how you can find an invariant and use it to prove some claim. So we worked through an example in class, and these were my tips for finding how to think about the problem. The problems are usually large and complicated. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. So instead of exploring the original problem, make a small example that will help you understand what's going on. You want to notice stuff that might matter to your original question, or just stuff that sticks out as being interesting or unusual. And then think about why is that happening. And then connect that reason back to your original problem in order to solve it. So I want to give a clear illustration of what that might look like here. The making zero problem said that you find on the whiteboard numbers 1 up to 2026 are written in a row, and it asks whether it's possible to insert a plus or a minus between every pair of digits so that the entire sum adds up to 0. So in other words, I could put like a plus here and a plus here and a minus there and maybe a minus here and a plus here, and there's of course all these numbers in between. And I could put the pluses and minuses in any sequence that I want. So the question is that possible? And this is tricky to think about because there are so many different ways you might do that. How can you possibly come to a conclusion at all? So I don't know if it's possible or not. It's a big question because trying to actually figure out how to do it is really different than trying to figure out why it's impossible. But let's do what I suggested. Let's explore some small examples. So if I have 1 and 2, that's like, well, the smallest example is just a single 1. I'm going to ask, is it possible or impossible? So if I just have one number, clearly impossible to make that 0. If I have 1 and 2, if this is positive, if I put a plus here, I'll have 3. If I put a minus here, I'll have -1. So it also seems it's not possible to make 0. Okay, what about 1, 2, and 3? Okay, well here it seems like I could, because I've got 1 plus 2 is 3 minus 3, so that is possible. What about 1, 2, 3, 4? This one you might want to tinker around a little bit more with. A lot of people in class hit upon this idea. The 1 has to be positive, because I can't, if I put a negative sign here, that's not between two digits, so that's not allowed. But I could have 1 and 4 add up to 5, and 2 and 3 add up to 5. So if I make the 2 and 3 negative, that's going to be -5, and that balances out with this +5. So again, I can make 0. Okay, so already I want you to notice how this might be different than what you tried to do in class. I'm being really systematic. I'm starting with an example that's maybe much smaller than you considered. Like I'm starting with literally the smallest example possible, and I'm working my way up. What have I learned so far? Well, I have one possible idea. Well, I guess I have two examples that I can use. I can ask, why was I able to make 0 here? And could I apply that same idea to the big case? Why was I able to make 0 here? And could I apply that same example to the large case? Another question would be, why can't I make 0s here? These are maybe a little bit small for there to be like a clear reason. Like it just seems really obvious that you just can't. And it's not clear that there is some general reason that would apply to other cases. Let's do one more. Let's do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we're getting large. Well, so one thing I can notice is this idea where we're going to like match pairs. That's not going to work here because matching pairs only works if you have an even number of terms. What about this one, the adding things and then subtracting? Well, so I can add 1, 2, and subtract 3 to make 0, but then there's no way to make 0 with the 4 and the 5. So you might tinker around a little bit. This is starting to become large enough that it's maybe not, like you can't list all the possibilities. There's a lot of them. I mean, you could, but it would take a while. And it might not be obvious if it's possible or not. So here's a different thing that exploring small examples could mean. I just want to see what's possible with my small example. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to write 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 a bunch of times in a row and just assign pluses and minuses to see what's possible. Okay, so I didn't assign these totally at random. I thought, what if they're all positive? What if they're all negative? Except the first one, we can't make negative. What if there's like what if I subtract just one of them? What if I subtract just two of them? What if the two aren't right next to each other? So I was trying to kind of cover a bunch of different kinds of scenarios. Okay, let's find the sums. Okay, so what are you noticing? Something that's immediately standing out to me is seemingly no matter what I do, I'm always getting odd sums. So let's go back for a second and look at these. So I was exploring small examples to understand what's happening. So something I noticed right now was that when I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it seems like no matter what I do, I'm getting an odd sum. So the next steps for me is asking, well, does that always happen? Is there a reason why it happens? And then, does that actually matter to my original question? My original question was, is it possible to make 0? So, why should it matter? Let's pretend that I could only get odd sums here. Why should that matter? Well, one connection I'm seeing is that if I'm trying to make 0, 0 is an even number. So if it's really true that I can only make odd sums, then that means that it's impossible for this small example to make 0. That should feel like progress to us, because if I can come up with a solid reason why I can't make 0 here, maybe that same reason applies to the big case. Okay. So let's try and find a reason why. Why is it that I could only get an odd sum? I mean, you might look at it and think, well, I don't know, I just see and they're all odd. The question you want to ask yourself is, try and dig in to the concept that's involved with the thing that you're noticing. So if I see that the sum is odd no matter what I do, I want to ask myself, what does it take to add a bunch of things and have the outcome be odd? So I know that if I have 2 and 4, those are even numbers, and when I add them up, they're going to be even. And that's also true when they're negative. Negative 2 and negative 4, when I add them together, is negative 6. And positive 2 and negative 4, when I add them together, is negative 2. So it's it doesn't matter if it's positive or negative. If I'm combining even numbers, that result is always even. Okay, but I know that the overall sum has to be odd. So let's think about what happens when I combine the other things, the odd numbers. So here, let's see, 1 and 3 is 4, plus 5 is 9, so that's odd. And then these three together, this is negative 8 plus 1 is negative 7, so that's also odd. So it seems like the even numbers, when you combine them, are always even. The odd numbers here are always odd. And it sort of makes sense. If you break it down, you already know that an odd plus an odd is even. But an even plus an odd is odd. So if you're adding 3 odds together, 2 of them are going to be even, plus the third is the odd, and so it's got to be odd. So that's sort of a very sketchy, quick reason for how do we know that 3 odds combined together is going to be odd. Well, look, so if we got 3 odds making an odd sum, and the rest are even, making an even sum, what I get when I add the odds is odd, the evens is even, so an even plus an odd must be odd over here. So now we've done it. We've come up with a reason why 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 always has to produce an odd sum. And the reason why is because we have an odd number of odds. So if I look at just the odd numbers in the sum, I see there are 3 of them. If I had 4 of them, maybe I could add them together to make an even. Well, not just maybe. I would have to add them together to make an even number. But then if I had 5 odd numbers, again, if I just add up the odds, that's going to be odd. And because 0 is even, if I end with an odd sum, I can't possibly make 0. Okay, so now we're ready to try and connect back to the original problem. I noticed for one particular example that all the sums were odd, and now we know why they're odd. So does that reason apply to the question I'm trying to figure out? In order to decide, I have to ask myself, well, how many odd numbers are there from 1 up to 2026. One way to think about this is you could think about them as being in pairs. So every pair has exactly one odd, every sequential pair like this has exactly one odd number. Here it's 1, here it's 3, here it would be 5, here it's 2025. Okay, so if I'm going to have two 2026 things and I'm going to divide them in pairs, that's 2026 over 2, which is 1013. So that means I have 1013 pairs, and every single pair has one odd number. So that means I have 1013 odd numbers. And that's an odd number of odds. So for the same reason that I said before, I know that the entire sum, no matter what I do, has to end up being odd, and that means that I can't make 0. So there's our proof. So now ask yourself, what do you want to take away for future problems? I mean, it's helpful to be able to write up the proof cleanly and make sure it makes sense to you. But, a future problem is going to look really different than this. So what I think you want to take away is what does it actually look like to do each of these steps? If you're going to explore small examples, start small. Start, in fact, the smallest example you can. I would say systematically work your way up rather than just randomly say, okay, let's try 1 to 10 because that seems kind of smaller. If you do it systematically, you might start to see patterns. Another thing is, instead of exploring small examples by saying, can I do it, can I not do it, sometimes it's good to ask yourself the question, what's possible? Here I wasn't actually trying to make 0. All I was trying to do is see, well, what different sums could I make? And that was the key moment that showed me a fact that led to the proof. So sometimes you have to enlarge your scope a little bit. You can't be too focused on trying to do the exact thing that you're doing. I mean, if you can, that's great. But if you're stuck, that's a signal that you have to look other places. And looking other places, sometimes you don't have to look that far before you find something that's connected back. But I think that's the sticking point for a lot of students, you guys. I think that you have trained yourself to believe that you have to keep focused on your goal no matter what. And sometimes in math, you have to enlarge your goal a little bit because they're closely related things that are there to see, but only if you're looking for them. I hope this was a helpful mini tutorial about a problem. Try these same steps, the exploring, the noticing, the coming up with why, on a couple of new problems. Good luck.